Hi everybody, and welcome to this 7-part video series on how to go from sim racing to real racing. A few years ago I became a licensed racing driver and spent 2 years racing at many of the circuits around the UK. In this video series I'll hopefully share my story and try to offer advice for anybody else that would like to do this themselves. So in the previous videos we've covered everything you need to go racing, how to get a car, how to find a series, etc. In this video, we're actually going to look at one of the races I did, this time at Donington Park. So for anybody who doesn't know, Donington is a racetrack in the middle of the UK. It did host the F1 at one point, I believe, and now is more known for saloon cars and stuff like that. There's a particular set of corners on it called the Craner Curves that are particularly bad. This picture does not do it justice, but they completely drop away as you're going through them and they're pretty fast. So it's a real grow a set of balls moment. So for anybody who doesn't know, they haven't watched the previous videos, go and watch them. But just to let you know, we're basically racing in a team endurance series in an Integra Type R. And basically, I think the races were about 45 minutes, 50 minutes long. And you had to do a mandatory pit stop and a driver change halfway through. In that pit stop, you had to wait a certain amount of time. And then the other driver would go out. This was multi-class racing, so each race had multiple different classes, and you can see on the back of the cars a letter that represents the class they're in. So yeah, when you see the video, we weren't racing all the cars that you see. So the class structure was based on power to weight, although I think if you had certain upgrades on your car, you'd actually go upper class. But what I found over time was a lot of people just cheated and lied about what class they were in. But that's a topic for another day. So I actually found this footage I edited together years ago, and it shows a bit of the reality of actually going racing. Lots of early starts, getting the car ready and loaded. In fact, I think this guy here is actually Chris that I race with in some of the team events now in iRacing. And yeah, you basically get your car on the trailer, hooked up, and drive it to the track. We didn't actually own a trailer, so actually you had to go and rent your trailer a day or two before, get that in place, get the car on it, get all your tools in it, and then actually on the day of the race you have to get it all loaded, drive to the track, which took ages, and then you get there, actually have to unpack all your stuff, get everything loaded and ready to go. So once you've got to the circuit, you generally go and register, sign on, etc. There'd be a driver's briefing you'd have to attend, and then for us, the practice session was actually your qualifying session as well. So because I was too cheap to go up for a test day before I was at work, often the first time either of us had ever driven the track in this car or even the track ever was actually in the practice session that was the qualifying. And that basically would have about 10 minutes, then you swap the driver and the other guy would have about 10 minutes. And then before you knew it, you were sitting on the grid. So it's nothing quite as nerve-wracking as being on the grid for an actual race. Your heart really is racing as you're sitting there. It's also super hot in the car, really sweating lots just before you even get moving. This obviously multi-class, so you can see loads of cars in front of us. We were Class C for this race. This was actually footage from the first year. I think this was maybe the second race that I'd done. And ultimately, as you'll see in the video, I'm still a little bit nervous, a little bit reserved. Obviously, we don't want to crunch the car, don't know how it's going to handle, haven't practiced that much. But yeah, basically, let's get into it. Okay, waiting for the green light, and we're off. So not a bad start. A few cars up ahead moving about. I'm just looking for what I can do here. Sort of getting closed onto the inside, and I was seeing some smoke and stuff up ahead, so I've actually backed off slightly. It looks like somebody actually went off, and unfortunately it's just lost me a little bit of momentum. I'm also aware that my tyres won't be fully up to temp, so you can sort of see here I'm understeering quite a lot out. Sliding a bit there because the tyres just aren't really gripping, so yeah, not completely flat out. Also probably just a bit nervous, to be honest. Need to settle into it. and if I haven't had that much practice in this car, I'm probably still learning the track as I'm going along here as well. So the pack up ahead is just getting away, we're seeing yet more dust, so people are making mistakes. Unlike in an iRacing or sim racing, if somebody spins in front of you, you hit them, you just restart. In this, if they were to crash in front of me, it would cost me a lot of money and maybe even injure me. So we're just settling into this now. Got a good run out of there. But just not got the legs to actually attack into this corner. While I was focusing on the red car, this guy has just sneaked straight up the inside of me. This guy I think is in our class as well, so that was actually a loss of position. Schoolboy mistake. Starting to grip a bit more there. And this Clio is actually Class A. And he was the one that went off on turn 1 at the start of the race, so I'm not really worried about him going through. He's a lot quicker, and that car had all sorts of stuff done to it. I think it was basically a real Clio Cup race car. So we're now stuck behind this white car, which he sort of held us up a little bit there. Fortunately, the Integra, you can hear it revs and revs and revs, but it kind of bogs down quite a lot when it falls off the power band. So you really notice it coming through here when you try to get on the power. It just doesn't really have much and everybody zooms off. So I think the reason I'm over to the right here is because there's somebody else now attacking me. And I sort of move back over to the left. Just try to get a bit of line in, see these guys all tripping over each other again. Sort of closing the gap a bit. So that yellow BMW actually I think is also Class A, but I just think the driver clearly wasn't that fast, so he's actually holding up me and this white Porsche. But it looks like I don't quite get past him. Obviously, it being a Class A car, he's going to have a bit more power on the actual straights compared to us. So the annoying thing there is kind of got a gap now to the white car. I don't know if the red car might have been in our class as well, I can't remember. I don't know, actually he might have been in the class above. Kind of coming under pressure from this Golf behind us now. So I've got a bit of a run on the BMW, but yet again, I just don't have the pace in a straight line. Over to the right again, because I think I'm under attack by this Golf. Slowing down because the BM's there and the Golf is just slipping through, which is a bit annoying. I think this is the first thing that you really learn when you actually go racing compared to track days, is track days you're not allowed to overtake in a corner, and so nobody even tries. In real racing, if you leave even the slightest gap, like right up ahead, somebody will go for the overtake. So seeing the Golf do that, I was like, right, I have to get past this BMW. Well, I'm trying to get past the BMW at least. Finally through. So the first few laps haven't been the best. I think I do start to settle in and start to go a bit quicker as the race goes on. Just getting more confident in the car, on the track, etc. Meanwhile, I'm still under attack. This Fiesta behind us, I can't remember, I think he might have been in the same class as well. And he's just shooting up on the inside again. I did mention it in the build video, I think. Oh, it's really bogged down there. But we accidentally broke our ABS on the car, and so it really struggled under brakes, to be honest, without locking up the tyres all the time. Braking was definitely one of the weakest points of this car, I think. So, got a few guys up ahead of us now, and I need to just settle into this and actually just try to gain the space back and see if we can get past any of them. So you can sort of see there, once I actually settled in a bit and didn't have pressure through my line and carrying the speed, I actually gained a little bit on the car ahead. It's just one of those sort of things when it's all happening at the start of the race, you kind of just go tunnel vision. You actually lose your proper racing line and actually what you're doing. That poor engine, rev. This engine used to eat oil, like literally we'd turn up at the track and just put tons of oil in it and it would just disappear by the end of a session. That high revving engine at high RPMs or on liftoff was just spitting oil out the back. So the tyre's starting to feel quite nice through Craner curves. Hopefully it'll give me a bit more confidence through here. I think that time I left it in 4th, whereas previously I think I changed down to 3rd. Slightly bogged down, but I might have carried more speed through. I must say, with things like sim racing and iRacing and stuff, they've got this track spot on. It really does look and feel just like the real thing, which is great. Obviously, I didn't have iRacing at the time to practice on, but if I was going racing again today, I'd definitely jump in iRacing and practice quite a lot. So I'm just seeing a group of cars up ahead. I think most of them are the same class, more or less. Driving through the smoke with somebody obviously going a bit wide as well. My main focus right now is just try to close this gap if I can. Just absolutely throwing it through there to try to carry as much speed as I can. Each lap, obviously I'm gaining confidence more and more. Most people that actually had money would come on the Friday and do a test day. So they'd basically have practiced quite a lot in their car, had it set up and ready to go. And then, yeah, we basically just turned up in the morning and actually went racing. Definitely closing the gap here. Seem to be gaining quite a lot through this corner, just throwing the car in. Fortunately it then bogs down a bit and I actually lose a bit on the next section, but I definitely gained a bit of time there. So we've got a slower class car here, just got to get around him. So if you see anything move in the left-hand footwell, I think that's the actual car's ECU that had come unstuck and started rattling around as I was driving around. So can you imagine the actual car's computer moving around as you're racing? At any moment we could have basically had the engine cut out because that thing got disconnected or damaged. But I was too focused to even notice it, to be honest. Alright. So here are the guys that got past us earlier. Now they're in front of us. So it's time to see what we can do when we close the gap. Force any pressure on them. So that guy's made a slight mistake there. He's almost spun it. We're trying to get up the inside. He's forced me actually onto the grass there. Also made it completely bogged down, which not ideal. But it's a good sign that these guys are struggling a little bit. Gives us a bit of a chance. Another slow class car on the left. Just carry a bit of momentum through here. We've got the run on the Gulf now. He's not giving it up that easily, so got to try to go for a bit of a cutback, get a better run down here. Really isn't somewhere that you'd ever want to overtake, so sort of giving a bit of a gap. What I want to do is carry as much speed as I can through the next corner. But he's pretty committed himself, to be honest, so didn't really gain too much there. And the Porsche up ahead has actually spun it. He's lost it. So that's 1 place gained. So a bit like in iRacing sometimes, it's a case of just driving consistently and waiting for somebody else ahead of you to make a mistake. And that's kind of what happened there. So got a bit of a run on the Golf, but I've backed off slightly. Going to focus on trying to carry the momentum through again. Got me covered off quite nicely there. Wiping sweat out of my eyes. To be honest, I get that even in iRacing and VR. I have to wipe sweat out of my eyes quite often, but words can't describe how hot it is in this car. And this car that's gone off up ahead, everybody else didn't care at all. I was super cautious. You get told to obey yellow flags and stuff. And yeah, I took that a bit too literally, I think. So these two have got round this back marker, and I've got to now tackle him here. He's actually come quite wide over there, made me go quite wide myself. Just watching the guys up ahead having a bit of a battle as well. Just closing the gap a bit. Like the good thing with the class structure when people weren't cheating is it meant that most cars were even if they were in the same class. So you notice you don't really gain too much on the straights with a lot of these things. Car sliding all over the place there. That was the brakes locking up due to no ABS, and the brake bias was all shot. So yeah, on the brakes there it was practically locking the rear axle. A couple of slower class cars. Just got to get around this guy. Don't know if he's good. turn in onto the apex, so I sort of backed off a bit, but it's lost me quite a lot of time there, momentum. And now he's really slowed down the crane of curves. So I'm going to try to go around the outside. Got to get back over to the left to then throw it into here. So all this time I can see those two specks in the distance, which are the two cars that I need to go and catch. Just a case of settling back into it and doing what I can do. So definitely gained a bit there on the Golf ahead of us. So I can see some smoke up ahead, somebody's definitely gone off. Probably slightly reserved because of that. And we're also just about to pass another back marker. Pass him on the inside. So my focus is definitely on these two cars up ahead, the Golf and the Fiesta race car. This Golf was actually meant to be Class D, which I find kind of hard to believe considering how quickly it was going. They didn't really test many people to actually check their weight or their power readouts or anything like that. So you could basically lie and say your car was a certain class when it wasn't. It was very unlikely you'd ever get found out. So just got a little bit of understeer there. Meant I had to get out of the throttle slightly. Throw it in. Really gained a lot on the Golf there. It's more dust. Somebody else has gone off track again. When overtaking some of these back markers, you just didn't really know what they were going to do, whether they were going to move over onto the racing line as you try to come through or hold off. Finally starting to see the potential here to actually get past him. Got a slower car on the inside. Means I have to take a slightly wide line in. Car spun out there by the looks of it, on the right. Just lining them up for an overtake here. Got them under the brakes, so that's one down. Now it's just a case of focusing on the Fiesta up ahead. And so I think I just saw potentially there as well, my pit board was out, meaning that I've got to come in on the next lap and do the driver change. Another car off up ahead. So we still got that Fiesta in view. It's not that far up ahead. It's just got past another back marker. So hopefully we'll get past that as well. And I'm slowing down here. I know I need to go into pit. Don't know why the hell I'm slowing down this much. I guess maybe I was concerned that if I went into the pits with too hot brakes, they'd warp or something like that. Even put my window wipers on there. Brilliant. So we did a driver change. My other driver went out, and we continued racing for another like 20 minutes or so. And then the end result was we got third in class. So not a bad result. Really great to actually get a trophy and experience the podium and all that sort of stuff. So what a lot of people obviously don't realise is then after this you have to go and pack all the car up, put it all on the trailer, drive the car back, unload the car, get all your stuff out, take the trailer back to the rental place, etc, etc. So just one short 40-minute race there. You probably spent 4 or 5 days actually end to end prepping for it and getting everything ready, and then getting there, doing your race, and then coming back. I'll go into more details on the cost of it in the cost video, but hopefully that helps show some reality to actually going from sim racing to real racing. So next week we'll be looking at Brands Hatch, which is a track that I'm more familiar with, and we'll see how we get on with that. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, please like it if you haven't, and if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next week.